My name is Dr. Ben Song.
I'm a time traveler.
I leap into other people to change history for the better.
Incredible.
So you're on board with the time traveler thing? Who am I this time?
You are a spy.
Awesome. The day the LA riots began.
There's no way out now.
Area 51. It's UFOs. I'm in the future. We are in serious trouble.
How is this possible?
This is the butterfly effect to end all butterfly effects.
You're about to be in a full-blown witch trial.
Witches!
Everything's changed.
He won't survive.
Never punched a Nazi before. Felt pretty good. I never know where this is insane or who I'm gonna be.
Well, Raymond, thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you. So speaking about Quantum Leap, you told earlier in the panel that you're already a fan of the show, way before you had the part. Was part of your process to get inspired for this role to rewatch the TV show?
Yeah, when we were shooting the pilot out in Vancouver, I wanted to reacquaint myself with the show. So I pulled it up Amazon and I started watching it, and I think it was good as a reference just to know, okay, this is what the show is. But I started watching sort of Scott Bakula's acting, and I saw that I was starting to sort of trying to do like some sort of a mimicry of it, and then that's when I was like, you know what, I think I watched enough of it, I'm gonna do my own thing. But yeah, I think it was important to tap back into that and to kind of get just a feel for what the show meant and why people gravitated towards it so much. And you know, you meet some of Quantum Leap's fans, and they come from a very deep place of understanding, and there's a lot of heart. And so I wanted to get the heart from the show, and which is kind of the main reason I started doing the rewatch.
And would you say that's also the main reason you decided to accept the role? Because you told in the panel that sometimes it's hard for an actor to do a reboot, although Quantum Leap is not exactly a reboot, but more of a sequel. That is already established, already has a lot of fans. What was the wow factor that made you, okay, I'm going to try this?
Well, first off, it was for the lead part, so that was certainly attractive. And then I started reading the script, and I never pictured myself doing network television to that degree. So I first had some sort of a judgment. I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And then I started reading it, and then I realized that I had more in common with Ben's song that I have ever had with reading most characters. And I found myself speaking from a very authentic place. I didn't have to put on much, and I just felt like I understood this fish out of water character. And by the time I got to the last page of the pilot, I was like, this makes sense. I can see why they were interested in me. And I had to sleep on it to make sure. I'm like, is this the right move? And you know, I talked to my friends, and I talked to my manager, and then I had a good moment to myself, and I was like, yeah, I would love to go on this journey with Ben for however long it's going to take, but I felt very close to him. So yeah, it was a big determining factor in that.
Nice. The second season is currently airing on Syfy in Portugal and introduced the 3-year time lapse. From the first season where you had those feelings to the second one, was this part of a new challenge when that happened to bring your emotional side to the character again?
Yeah, and it's a challenge that I welcome. It's what I wanted more of in the first season, to really develop the relationships with the characters. And I mean, especially because the idea of having multiple holograms too, for me, was this idea that you're getting to tap into the rest of Ben's life, and you're filling out his friendship circle. You get to know who Magic was to him closer. You get to know who Ian, who is his best friend, just to figure out those dynamics. And when our showrunners first approached me with the idea of, hey, we're going to make this a very character relationship-based second season, I said, yes, that's what I want. You know, I want a serialized relationship with every single one of these characters, because there's a great convention in network television where you can repeat, you can rinse and repeat and do something over again, and you have that already built in with the leaps. How do we serialize the relationships? And I love that our showrunners decided to make that move in the second season.
Well, still keeping the 4 ages in mind. Can you repeat which ones were they?
Yeah, it's heart, humor, humanity, and history.
Before Quantum Leap, you were also part of a more comedy show, Kevin Can Go Fuck Himself, and now you are the lead actor on more of an action sci-fi show. As an actor, what are the biggest difference on the challenge of doing comedy and action?
Schedule. I mean, it's definitely I'm at work more, but yeah, Kevin Can Fuck Himself was a very specific type of show that dealt with small town characters. So it was important to not make them so broad. It was important to make them small and very specific to each of these people and places. And with this show, the world is so big, and the trap is that you have to make yourself this big. It's like, no, it's still right here. So there's similarities there, but the main difference is that the character for me are quite different. They're both good listeners, and I think they have that in common, but you know, Ben in this world has to figure things out in a very active way, and time is of the essence. Whereas in the other one, he was kind of more or less letting things come to him. My character, Sam, in Kevin, was just somebody who was on the receiving end of a lot of things, and he was sort of just had to deal with that. I think Ben is on the receiving end, but he has to take action, otherwise time runs out. So yeah, I would say pace is one of the main differences. Yeah.
Okay. And you also had a short experience as a producer and writer as well. Is that something you would like to maybe in the future try again?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more time I spend in this industry, the more I start to develop my tastes, and the more I start to build relationships with people in different trades, and I go, well, I really like the way that this person holds a camera. I really like the way that this person edits, and that's mainly the job of a producer, to bring together some very talented people. And I feel like I'm just like collecting people here and there, and I'm figuring out what I'm good at as an actor. And as far as writing goes, it's probably the newest and most scariest venture, but you know, so is acting, you know, so is anything I've tried before too, so I welcome the challenge.
Nice. Going back to Quantum Leap, you have a lot of action scenes, you have a lot of fights. Was any specific part more difficult to record than Running on Hills?
The boxing episode was pretty challenging. Mainly because we don't get that much time. Like, we don't get the luxury of having a month of training. We have maybe 2 or 3 moments of training, and that's maybe an hour at a time, and then the rest we just have to kind of work on it at home. So for a show like ours to infuse action, I think it's very challenging, just because we don't have enough time to really finesse everything. So that boxing episode, which had essentially 3 fight scenes in it, was quite challenging. I was also, you know, working in a capacity where there was an audience, there was a crowd, and so there was this added pressure of like also making sure the crowd is entertained in a weird way, even though they're not your responsibility, but you want them to be like, you feel like you're in an arena, you know? Yeah. So yeah, that was quite challenging as far as action is concerned.
You also already answered as Raymond, but which kind of era or period you would like to visit in the panel. But as an actor, is there like a specific time that you would think it would be fun to see the set, to dress up on that time or period?
Yeah, like imagine him leaping into the middle of Dunkirk, you know, or like him leaping into the middle of Saving Private Ryan. I feel like there's, if the production value allows for him to be leapt into find himself in a wartime situation, very high stakes, I think would be pretty intense. So, I mean, World War II somewhere, you know.
Okay. And here in Portugal, we still haven't seen the finale of the 2nd season, and I know it's still not confirmed, so we're not going to ask you that. But one of the creators has hinted about the possibility of a 3rd season. Do you think that Ben still has more history and more development that would allow a 3rd season if that opportunity arises?
Yeah. Without revealing too much, I know that there is an interest in developing Ben's just sort of where he comes from, just a little bit more of his backstory, and I know there's interest in wanting to uncover some of that. So, I mean, I selfishly want a season 3 for those reasons too.
What was your favorite part of bringing a character like Ben to life?
I think just like the leaping aspect in and of itself. You know, I think the idea that he himself is a time traveler. I think knowing that every single episode, that when I crack open the script, I'm gonna find it's kind of like a surprise every single time. If the writer doesn't tell me anything beforehand, generally they do because they're so excited to be like, okay, so you're a race car driver, it's in the 70s, or you're a firefighter and it's in the so-and-sos. But when I open it up and I go, oh wow, okay, and then they even write like, okay, this song plays, and then I look it up on my phone and I go and I read it and I go, okay, cool, like I'm in this time period. I think that moment is actually my favorite, when I first turn the page and I go, okay, this is where we are.
And to finalize our time, do you have any projects that are about to be out there that you can talk to us about, or still no can't talk about it?
Can't talk about it,
Okay.
but also I'm just sort of mainly waiting on some news from Quantum Leap so I can make plans accordingly.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Raymond.
you.
It was a very nice conversation.
Yeah, likewise.